The words hung in the air like a noose tightening around my throat. "I can't wait for our vacation," I'd said, my voice bubbling with the kind of forced enthusiasm you muster at family gatherings, the ones where the turkey's dry and the smiles are drier. We were crammed around the oak dining table in our old Victorian house, the kind with creaking floors and wallpaper peeling like old skin. Mom's apple pie sat half-eaten, steam curling up like ghosts, and the chandelier above us swayed faintly from a draft no one could source. My sister, Elena, fiddled with her napkin, her eyes darting to Dad as if she knew something I didn't. And then Dad laughed, a sharp, barking sound that sliced through the room like a knife through butter. But it wasn't his usual warm chuckle, the one that rumbled from his belly after a bad joke. This was laced with venom, his eyes gleaming with a cruel amusement I'd never seen before. "Vacation," he sneered, leaning back in his chair, the wood groaning under his weight. "Oh, kid, you really think we're going on a vacation? That's rich. That's the funniest thing I've heard all year." His laughter echoed off the walls, but it died when he saw my confusion, my hurt. And in that moment, with the fork slipping from my fingers and clattering onto the plate, I felt the first crack in the foundation of my world, a betrayal so raw it burned like acid in my veins. I froze, my heart pounding in my ears, the room tilting as if the floor had given way. Dad's face, usually lined with the soft creases of a man who'd worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, now twisted into something unrecognizable, smug, almost triumphant. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with horror, but she said nothing. Elena stared at her plate, her knuckles white around her glass. What do you mean?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper, the words tasting like bile. The air smelled of cinnamon and regret, the pie's sweetness now cloying, suffocating. Dad wiped a tear from his eye, still chuckling. "Come on, Alex. You didn't really believe that crap, did you? The family trip to the Bahamas. It's a setup, son. Or should I say, not my son." The words hit like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of me. Not his son. The room spun, the chandelier's crystals blurring into prisms of light that stabbed at my eyes. I gripped the table edge, the wood rough under my palms, grounding me just enough to keep from collapsing. Betrayal flooded in, hot, furious, a tidal wave that drowned out everything else. How could he say that? After 28 years of calling me his own, of coaching my little league games, of hugging me at graduations. But his eyes, cold and unyielding, told me it was no joke. This was the truth he'd been hiding, laughing behind my back all these years. Humiliation washed over me next, a cold sweat breaking out on my skin as I replayed every family memory in my head. The fishing trips where he'd taught me to bait a hook, his calloused hands steady on mine. The late-night talks about life, where he'd said I was just like him, stubborn, resilient. Lies. All of it lies. I felt exposed, naked under their gazes, like a fool who'd been playing a role in someone else's script. "You're not serious," I muttered, but my voice cracked, betraying the denial bubbling up inside. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, to pretend it was one of his twisted pranks, but the way Mom averted her eyes, the way Elena's shoulders hunched in guilt, screamed otherwise. "Tell him, Karen," Dad said to Mom, his tone casual, as if discussing the weather. She hesitated, her lips trembling before whispering. "It was a long time ago, Alex. Before we were married. I had an affair. Your biological father. He left town." The confession hung heavy, the room's silence broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall, each second a hammer blow to my chest. Heartbreak clawed at me, ripping open wounds I didn't know existed. This wasn't just a secret. It was a demolition of my identity. Who was I, if not his son? Resentment simmered beneath the pain, directed at all of them. Dad for the cruelty of his reveal, Mom for the deception, Elena for knowing and saying nothing. She'd always been the golden child, the one who got the praise without effort. Had she reveled in this? That night, alone in my childhood bedroom, the walls closing in like a coffin, I paced the worn carpet, its threads frayed from years of my footsteps. The streetlight outside filtered through the curtains, casting long shadows that danced like mocking specters. My mind raced, a whirlwind of thoughts too chaotic to pin down. Denial first. Maybe it was a test, a sick family ritual to toughen me up. But no, the laughter in Dad's voice, Mark's voice, I corrected myself bitterly, was too real, too laced with years of suppressed bitterness. He'd raised me, but now I saw the undercurrent. The times he'd favored Elena, the subtle digs about my sensitive nature. Fantasies of justice flickered in my mind, storming downstairs, demanding answers, smashing that damn pie plate against the wall. But doubt crept in, whispering that I was overreacting, that families had secrets, that forgiveness was the adult thing.
Well,
this wasn't a secret. It was a bomb detonated at the heart of our family meeting. Obsession took root as I scrolled through old photos on my phone. The screens glow harsh in the dark. In every picture, Mark's arm around me felt like a lie now, a performance. I imagined confronting him, watching his smug face crumple. But fear held me back. What if the truth was worse? What if my real father was a monster, or dead, or didn't want me? Moral conflict gnawed at me. Was revenge worth it? He wasn't my blood, but he'd been my dad. Yet the humiliation burned, fueling a cold resolve that settled in my bones like frost. The next morning, the house smelled of burnt coffee and unspoken regrets. I found Mark in the kitchen, humming as he poured himself a mug, acting like nothing had happened. The normalcy infuriated me, my hands trembling as I grabbed a cereal bowl. "Sleep well?" he asked, his voice light, but his eyes flicked to me with that same amusement. "Like a baby," I lied, forcing a smile that felt like glass shards in my mouth. Inside, resentment boiled. How dare he pretend? Elena shuffled in, her hair disheveled, avoiding my gaze. "Alex, about last night." She started, but I cut her off. "Don't. Just don't." Her words would only be excuses, manipulations to keep the peace. Mom appeared last, her face puffy from crying, and she touched my arm gently. "We need to talk," she said softly, her voice laced with guilt. But talking wouldn't erase the betrayal. As we sat at the breakfast table, the same one where my world had shattered, the tension thickened, a palpable fog. Subtle hints of my brewing vengeance emerged in my mind. I'd dig into the past, find my real father, expose Mark's own skeletons. But I played it cool, nodding along as they discussed mundane things, my inner thoughts a storm of planning. I'd start small, rifle through old documents in the attic, trace Mom's affair. The fear of what I'd find twisted my gut, but the obsession won out. This wasn't just revenge. It was reclaiming my truth. Days blurred into a haze of quiet calculation. At work, staring at my computer screen in the sterile office cubicle, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees, I'd zone out, replaying the laugh. Humiliation replayed on loop. The way they'd all known, pitying me. I started with the attic that weekend. The air thick with dust and mothballs, the floorboards creaking under my weight. Boxes of old letters, photos. Evidence of a life before me. A yellowed envelope caught my eye. Addressed to Mom from a Victor Hale. My heart raced as I opened it, the paper brittle, revealing passionate words. "I can't leave her, but I love you. Victor, my real father." The discovery fueled my resentment, but guilt crept in. Was I betraying Mom by prying? No, she'd betrayed me first. That night, over dinner, I tested the waters. "Remember that old friend of yours, Mom?" "Victor," I said casually, watching her face pale, the fork pausing mid-air. Mark's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering. "Why bring that up?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Just curious," I replied, suppressing the rage bubbling up. The conversation hung there, charged, Elena shifting uncomfortably. Suspense built in these moments. Small jabs that hinted at my unraveling control. As weeks passed, my obsession deepened. I tracked Victor online, late at night in my apartment, the city's neon lights flickering through the blinds like accusatory eyes. He was alive, a successful lawyer in Chicago, married with kids, my half-siblings. Heartbreak hit anew, He'd abandoned me for a perfect life. Planning took shape. I'd confront him, force him to acknowledge me, then use it against Mark. But doubt plagued me. Was this justice or destruction? Moral conflict raged as I imagined the fallout. Mom's tears, Elena's accusations. Yet the cold resolve hardened. At a family barbecue, the backyard alive with the sizzle of burgers and children's laughter from neighbors, I cornered Mark by the grill. "You enjoyed that, didn't you?" Dropping the bomb like it was nothing. My voice was low, suppressed rage leaking through. He flipped a patty, the grease spitting. "You needed to know, kid. Grow up." His dismissal ignited fury, but I held back, the slow burn of suspense coiling tighter. Little did he know revenge was coming. Not explosive but insidious like poison in the veins. The turning point came in a rainy afternoon call from Victor. I'd reached out anonymously, but he pieced it together. "Alex, is that you?" His voice was smooth, surprised. We met in a dingy cafe, the aroma of stale coffee mingling with wet pavement from outside. He looked like me, same jawline, same eyes, and the resemblance twisted the knife. "I didn't know," he claimed, but his excuses rang hollow. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Mom had told him, but he'd chosen to run. As we talked, guilt washed over me for dragging this into the light, but obsession pushed forward. "Mark raised me," I said bitterly, "but he hates me for it." Victor's face darkened. Turns out Mark had blackmailed him years ago to stay away. Hidden motives unveiled, Mark's fatherly act was a power play. The revelation fueled my plan. Expose Mark's secrets, turn the family against him. Fear of consequences loomed, but the pursuit felt inevitable. Back home, the house felt smaller, oppressive, the walls echoing with unspoken accusations. I hoarded my discoveries like weapons. Emails from Victor detailing Mark's threats, old bank statements showing hush money. Inner conflict tore at me. Revenge would shatter Mom, hurt Elena, but the humiliation demanded payback. I fantasized about the confrontation, picturing Mark's face crumbling as I revealed his manipulations. But doubt whispered, what if I became the monster? Pacing my room, the rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers, I weighed the moral gray. Justified, yes, but at what cost? Cold resolve won. I'd strike at the next family meeting, mirroring the betrayal's origin. Tension mounted in subtle ways. Over coffee with Elena, the cafe's chatter a distant hum, I probed. "You knew, didn't you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, Mark told me years ago. He said it would break you." Her confession revealed her complexity. Loyalty to Mark mixed with guilt toward me. "He's not perfect," she admitted. "But he loves us." Loves. The word stung, fueling resentment. I nodded, hiding my plans, the suspense building like a storm cloud. At work, distractions mounted. Colleagues noticed my distraction, the bags under my eyes from sleepless nights plotting. One evening, alone in the park, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot, their earthy scent grounding me, I rehearsed the reveal. Fear gripped me. What if they sided with him? But obsession drowned it out. The plan crystallized. Invite Victor to the vacation planning meeting I'd suggested, framing it as reconciliation. Mark agreed suspiciously. His eyes wary over dinner, the clink of silverware tense. "What's the angle, Alex?" he asked, a hint of unease in his voice. "No angle," I lied, suppressing rage. Inside, fantasies played. His laugh turning to please. Mom seemed hopeful, touching my hand. This could heal us. Guilt stabbed, but betrayal's scar ached deeper. The night arrived, the dining table set like a stage, candles flickering shadows that danced menacingly. Victor arrived first, his presence electric, Mom's gasp audible. "What is he doing here?" Mark demanded, his face reddening, the vein in his forehead pulsing. Elena froze, piecing it together. "Sit," I said calmly, my voice steady despite the pounding heart. As we gathered, the air thick with anticipation, I laid out the evidence. Letters, emails, the blackmail. You kept him away to control us, I accused Mark, my words sharp as blades. He laughed again, that same bark, but it faltered, cracking under pressure. You think you're clever. I protected this family. His defense revealed his grayness. Resentment from Mom's affair turned to possessive control. Mom wept, heartbreak raw. Why, Mark? He slumped, guilt surfacing. I couldn't lose you. Suspense peaked as Victor spoke. His voice measured. You threatened my career, my family. The room erupted. Accusations flying, Elena defending Mark weakly. My revenge unfolded, but inner doubt surged. Was this justice or vengeance? As tempers flared, the twist hit. Elena confessed. I helped him. I found Victor's info for Dad years ago. Betrayal tripled. My sister complicit. Shock jolted me, fury blinding. Why? She sobbed. To keep us together. I was scared. Her motives. Fear of abandonment twisted love. In the chaos, Mark lunged at Victor, fists flying, the table overturning with a crash, pie scattering like blood. I intervened, pulling him back, but the scuffle left bruises, physical echoes of emotional wounds. Police were called, but no charges. Just a fractured family scattering. Alone later in the empty house, the silence deafening, I felt hollow victory. Revenge delivered poetic justice. Mark exposed, isolated. But unexpected consequences loomed. Mom's depression, Elena's estrangement, my own guilt. Obsession faded to regret. The moral gray enveloping me. Was I better than him? The laugh that started it echoed in my mind. But now it was mine. Bitter, self-directed. In pursuing revenge, I'd betrayed myself. The vacation never happened. But the journey to this shattered end was far more harrowing.